In this video, we're going to take a look at shape collision. Shape collision is the dynamics operator we're going to use when we want to have a very accurate particle mesh collision. Let's go ahead and take a look. We've got some red particles being born off that sphere. They pass through there. Let's go ahead and create a new rule. This will be shape call. And let's go ahead and drop him in there. And first and foremost, we need to tell the shape collision operator who are you going to be calculating this collision for. So the group that we specify here is going to be the one that's going to be involved in the collision. Now every red particle is going to be colliding with every red particle now. Or every red particle and every child of red. Red does not have any children right now. We'll worry about that in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to get that floor to respond. We've got a floor node input. We're going to go ahead and get a helper, a node, and pick that floor. And connect that node to there. Now it's important to know that this plane is a flat one-sided object. That's not going to work as a floor. It needs to have some volume to it. So we're going to apply a shell modifier. That'll give it some thickness. And what we'll see now is these particles go ahead and they respond. They hit the floor. And we see this one guy kind of roll through there. This has to do with the evaluation of this floor as a collision object. TP has to decide how finely do I want to evaluate this shape. One of the things we can do, we'll come here to the shape collision. It's got a section called floor, and what we're going to do for the floor is we're actually going to increase the voxel grid a little bit, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so now it does not penetrate and fall through like it did. So increasing this voxel grid is going to allow this floor to be have higher sampling. The voxel grid is something like a cubic interpretation or evaluation of the source shape, and with a 3x3 we get an evaluation that's something like this. And if we were to make this like we have now, this voxel grid is set to 6 for this floor. So what our cubic cubic voxel grid would look something like 6 by 6 by 6. So that has quite a bit more faces and edges to work with, and so that's going to be a more accurate representation of that shape. Let's go ahead and we'll delete that guy. Okay, so they spin and roll nicely across there. Let's just take a quick look. We've got another group that we can use up here just for as a deflector. And a deflector can be useful if you want to have the particles collide against something but not actually affect those things. So they're really only a kind of a one-way collision. It's the deflector is affecting this group, but this group does not affect the deflector. We'll go ahead and create a simple little setup with some cylinders. And go ahead and drop these. Let's actually use an instance. And okay, that should be good. What we're going to do is we're going to pretend like this is, like these guys are some part of a collision environment. Maybe it's a bunch of buildings, and these are pieces of buildings falling down. Whatever the case may be, we're going to create a group in TP called call ENV for collision environment. And we're going to set that to a bluish kind of color. And what we're going to do is come up to matter waves born, and we'll just go ahead and add another operator in here, a generator. We're going to get an object particle, and we'll go ahead and pick, and we've got those cylinders selected, so we'll just pick those. We'll select one of them here, say changes affect all, so that it's going to update all those objects. I want to put those in the collision ENV group, and we want them to be instant shape. If they were moving, we would want object particle, so that the object would control these objects as particles, but they're not moving, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so there's our object particle creating a bunch of collision ENV guys. Let's have him hide all those, and so all we see now are these kind of purplish collision ENV objects. Let's take our matter waves emit sphere and put them up a little higher. and come back to shape collision and take a look. So right now we've got the red particles colliding amongst themselves as well as colliding with the floor. And so when they fall, they're going to hit that floor, they're going to hit themselves and bounce around. Now what we want to do is we want to add the collision E and V as a deflector object, or deflector group. So now you can see those red particles are actually hitting the deflector group and then hitting the floor and bouncing among themselves. So it's added another group, another particle group to the whole collision. But this particle group only acts as a deflection device, does not respond to the collision. Okay, so there's another way that we can do this besides just having an actual deflector group, and we could take a look and we'll talk about some particle properties. First, we're going to create a new group called collision, and collision is going to contain the red group and the collision environment group. We're going to come back to shape collision, set our deflector to none. We're going to set our group now to collision. So the shape collision operator is going to go ahead and look at everything in and under collision and use that in the collision environment simulation here. So we come over to collision. He's not going to have any particles in him, but red will and collision environment does. What we want to do is take a look at these settings that we've got right here, active, neutron, and frozen. These are the methods that control how the particle responds during the shape collision simulation. If he's active, he's gonna hit things and he's going to be hit. He's going to react and act. We're going to go ahead and take a look at collision environment. We're going to set collision environment to be a neutron. And a neutron is basically going to act like a deflector. It will just do whatever it was doing, not be affected by the collision simulation, but it will affect other particle groups.